Now. Nope. Now. Hey! There we are. Let me make sure the microphone's up there.
There we are.
Yep. There you can see it. Oh, it's got the little display on there. I should turn that off. No, it's kind of cute. Let's leave it. So, and now we...
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Convos.
Oh, yeah, it's working. It's working.
I'm not your host, but my name is Danielle Beckman. And let's all introduce ourselves.
Yeah. Hello, my name is Timothy Reese, and I'm also not the host.
Hello, my name is Victoria Rani, and I'm the host. Hey. All right, it's good to be here tonight. We just finished watching the newest episode.
That's right.
Sitting here sipping tea.
I gotta get rid of these things. I gotta do some
get
menu
rid of-
things.
We got to get rid of some things. But in the meantime, here's a question that I want to have, is it a round robin? Is that what that's called? I don't know. Question for the group. What was everyone's, and this has nothing to do with the episode yet, just a warm up, what would everyone's first fandom, first thing that they were a fan of, like nerdy, movie, books, what have you? What's your first fandom that you can remember that you were obsessed with?
Mine was hands down Star Trek, The Next Generation.
Nice.
I can't get enough of that bald head, you know what I'm saying? Seriously though, like Captain Picard was my everything.
Yeah.
And my dad would watch the show 8 p.m. Thursday night. So 8 p.m. Sunday nights, Channel 13, in San Diego, California. And I would watch with him from the age of like 5 or 6, which some of it was adult material. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it's Star Trek.
Yeah.
It's adventure.
There's
it's
people with large
exploration.
foreheads and different aliens and replicators where you can say tea Earl Grey hot.
Was that your favorite like gadget?
Oh
on
my gosh,
Star
the
Trek?
replicator?
The replicator.
Yes,
Yeah.
because you can literally say to a microwave in the wall, "Can you please give me nail polish?" And it's like, "Sure."
It's pretty awesome.
It is awesome.
No, I love that. Did you see Picard? The show?
Yes.
Yeah.
Season 2 is coming out soon.
I love it.
I know. Really, really, really excited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a secret about it. I'm not allowed to tell.
Amazing.
I'm not allowed to tell.
I had a secret. She clearly has a secret.
I cannot keep
You
secrets.
cannot talk about this anymore.
No, I'm done.
Yes.
We're done.
So, same question, Timothy.
I was thinking about this, and one, it's a mix for me because they were all the same year. It's either the show Gummy Bears.
The show Gum. That's a deep cut.
Yeah. And I had a lifelong dream come true when I met the composer of the theme song 2 weeks ago.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
She's a family friend. Shout out to Patty Silversher.
Yeah. She wrote the theme, and
She and her ex-husband, yeah.
I had this moment standing in like their studio downstairs where it was just like I started singing the song. And so, which is funny whenever that happens, right? Because the person who wrote it is standing in front of you. I'd say that it's a mixture between that.
Yeah.
I feel like there's actually covers a lot of ground. There was a show that only had 1 or 2 seasons that was very sad. It was a cartoon. But it was the first thing I ever remember watching that was sad and it was okay.
What?
It was called Exo Squad. Oh. And it was this show about humanity who had created an artificial form of human life that they were holding in bondage. They were like not humans that they were using for manual labor, and then they rebelled. And they all fought in these machines like exoskeletons in space. And all the machines looked amazing. But it was the whole story was about like life and loss and betrayal and the things you do mattering and the choices you make mattering. And also that everyone deserves human rights, even if they don't look like you. That's one of the main fundamentals of the show. And this was a lot for like 6 to 7-year-old Timothy to process, but it was the first time I ever remember being sad watching something. And the other one would be Gargoyles, which is also has the saddest pilot in the history of cartoons.
I saw
It's
that.
brutal.
I saw the animated series. I can't remember what the pilot was. What was brutal about it?
Like 95% of them are killed on camera.
What?
Yeah. Yeah, they're betrayed.
Saturday morning TV.
I love that you did not. I love that you did not remember.
Spoilers. Spoilers for 90s
Gargoyles,
cartoons.
gargoyles, and gummy bears.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and
Oh
they're betrayed. And the weirdest part is they're betrayed by Lord and Lady Macbeth. So it's a real.
Whoa.
Yeah, there's a lot of genre in there. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
a lot.
Macbeth is real in Gargoyles.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel the everything you just talked about brings up a lot for me. The first thing that came up was when you were talking about gummy bears was I used to have a job where I got to make videos for theme park rides, and as part of that I was lucky enough to get to record one time at DreamWorks with a man named James C. He's a fantastic voiceover artist who is also the voice of Jackie Chan on Jackie Chan Adventures.
Okay.
Which was an animated Jackie Chan TV show in Saturday morning cartoon show in the 90s, and I was so excited when he came in to record.
Oh my god.
but I don't think that he expected anyone to tell him how great he did on a cartoon from 20 years ago, let alone,
Right.
you know.
I think that's one of the weird things about voiceover actors, right? Is that your fan base is sometimes inculcated at a very young age, right?
Yeah.
So you're not only like a fan, you're a voice of their childhood.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a lot.
Like Ed Asner's in Gargoyles. He's amazing.
Yeah.
R.I.P.
Yeah.
And
At least
Ja-
I think he is. Now I want to look it up. I'm pretty sure it's Ed Asner, though.
Jackie Chan was big in my household.
Oh.
My mother, who may or may not be watching this, will attest. Yeah, I love it, and I feel like that was the only. I got to watch a lot of really cool people work, and I feel like that was the one time where I lost my cess. Like,
Yeah.
you did so great. That's all I want to say. Thank you. And then he like did the voice. It was the sweetest thing.
Oh, that's
it
like,
made my
yeah.
like 8-year-old self like so excited. But I feel like what was the first thing I was a fan of was Star Wars. It was Star Wars. I feel like we rented the videos from Blockbuster more times than we should have. We should have just bought the VHS types at that point, because I watched the original trilogy at least 15 times each when I
Amazing.
first watched it for the first time when I was 10 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
But
Well, and
Yeah.
you have so you have branched out so much into all the lore and all the things that are available for Star Wars, and so that makes so much sense. She's a
Yeah.
wealth of knowledge right here.
Well, it's like
yeah,
you showed up for episode 3. You showed up for episode 3 in a wardrobe that was not an Ahsoka Tano costume.
no,
It was a wardrobe inspired by Ahsoka Tano.
yeah. Shout out to El Hoffer Design. They make some very magical everyday clothing that just has like a little touch of
Yeah.
So
nerd flair
It
to
was
it.
somehow,
It's great.
it was actually somehow cooler because whenever you said, I'm Ahsoka Tano, everybody at the table went like, no, you're, oh. It was like this click and it was like, oh, this is like a level metaphorically higher than the literal. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Which makes more sense.
And I like that. And I had someone, my roommate's boyfriend, actually tell me that I'm nerd chic,
Okay.
apparently, because I do my nerddom in a very understated way, and that's kind of
Right.
how I like it.
That's good.
I'm into it.
Yeah.
Not to say that, you know, having a flashy graphic T-shirt, obviously, and you know, not to say that that's a bad thing, but I don't know. I just like that. Anyway, so questions. Do we have any questions?
Not yet.
Let's come up. Let's see. I have some burning questions that I've been sitting on. I want to ask, and this is for. We'll start with this last episode. Timothy Restavarn.
Rest of our.
Oh my gosh. What a congested but like so rich and multi-leveled, literally town. How did you create this town? What inspired you?
Okay, so this is a weird. This is a weird deep cut. The first word I ever wrote down, ever writing down anything, ever playing D&D, for like story was just the word Restavarn. If you go all the way back, I have this massive notes like dump file that I've been using for years, which I eventually migrated away from because it was like 90 pages long on Apple Notes, and it was like.
Open this for me.
And one of the things about it was always like super clear in my mind with. It's kind of the idea, right? I love the idea of the unfettered access to riches, and what that does to people.
Yeah.
Especially when there's not support for infrastructure. Like, we don't really have anything like that in real life. Like, if you were to...
It's like if you were living in, what was it, Alexandria, was that library in Egypt or something, or like living on Atlantis or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you're living in a place that people mythically dream of, is that, we have people like in America who live on land that is on top of oil reserves, and they're paid for the oil under their land, right? They get a check, and it's like leased from them. But the idea of what would happen if there was an unblocked like hole in the ground where you could suddenly mine, that would take 100 years of mining to get to some of these treasures, and now you just have to be willing to go down into the worst possible environment you can imagine.
Yeah.
That's just constantly slippery. There's nothing supported. It caves in on itself. But it's kind of that idea of like, if there's no government there, people are just going to throw themselves at it to get what they want.
Yeah.
And at the same time, they have to like eat and sleep and have clean water and have a place to get away from everyone else. And as a result, you would have a town that would be completely out of control, just completely out of control, where the only reason it's not hyper violent is because people of great violence live there and keep it in tension. And that to me, like, just really, like, it was one of those things where once I saw it in my head, it kind of just lined up. And I was like, oh yeah, that's actually exactly what it would be like.
It works.
Because it's going to attract especially the exceptional people in Bentir, because it's...
Who can afford 10 gold baths?
Yeah. Who can afford a meal that's 2.5 gold, which is like 3 days hard labor, skilled labor wages. Yeah. Because like a loaf of bread is like a couple copper, right? And you're paying half a gold an ale.
Yeah.
So
That's a lot.
Yeah. So Restavarn has... I've always wanted to go there. I really always wanted to go there, and so it's really exciting that we get to go there.
And I feel like you recognize Restavarn because you've played in this world before, you being Danielle.
Yes.
Right? So did you... a question I have for you is, how does Danielle keep sorted what Danielle knows, having known Bentir for years now, and what Greta knows, being Greta? How do you do that? I did like little Greta ears.
Greta ears.
Greta ears.
Well, sometimes the two mix on accident. No, that's an amazing question, though, and I think that that's something that we talk about a lot, just with playing the game of Dungeons and Dragons and also improvising and storytelling in this way that we do, is the idea of like meta gaming, like what do you know versus what does your character know. And luckily, because I'm playing a squick in Novel Chronicles, my character happens to have some strange intel from like bits and pieces around. Certainly there are things she doesn't know.
Yeah.
But because squick are such this like exceptionally quirky little network of species, they have some intel that most others might not. So therefore, yeah, they're an insular group, and so therefore, they're well versed in. That's why she knew what a Brabble arc was in episode 3. Was that?
Yeah.
I think, about teleportation. Like, they just happen to know how to get around, and they hear things, and because their ears are so big, they can hear a lot. I don't know. That's my interpretation. But basically, there are some things, especially about Rupert, that I've known for the last 3 years as Danielle, that I have to like set aside when I'm playing Greta.
I remember the episode where we all realized that Rupert had made us all graves, and it was right before we took a break, and you just had the most emotional reaction. It was beautiful.
Yeah, we didn't get it on camera, but I was sobbing
Because it was
like,
Danielle having that reaction.
Yeah.
Having known this NPC for so long.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we went to intermission for episode 2, and then the second we went to intermission, Danielle was just like sobbing.
And it's because the beginning of Rupert was with Bryn Moonbrook, my character from Carol Guardians, from 3.5, 4 years ago now.
Yeah.
Oof. And she was the one who brought Rupert on the journey.
Yeah.
And then he got a middle name.
Yeah. It's not his last name, by the way.
That's not his
I was
last
like, what
name.
is
That's
his
his
middle name?
His middle name
Rupert
is
Sumo.
is Sumo.
Oh, that is his middle name.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so that's not his last name.
No, his last name's not Sumo.
I don't. Danielle doesn't know his last name at all.
Oh
so.
my gosh.
He was actually, and it's funny. It's funny the things that like I forget. So no one's ever going to watch Carol Guardians because first of all, we did it live.
It could be a Patreon perk. Just saying.
We've been thinking about it like a way of like
Deep
offering
lore.
because it's 100 episodes, right? And each of the episodes is 3 hours unedited, just straight through.
Incredible.
And so as a result, like there's just some little fun details that kind of track up. Well, like so Rupert was actually got his name, his middle name, from a member of Azure Company. And so this happened in like episode 50 of Carol Guardians.
Okay.
And the mercenary company, the most famous mercenary company in Bentir,
Yeah.
he got his name from a retired innkeeper named Thomas, who is he claims he's a half ogre. He's really like a full ogre, who took a liking to Rupert and gave Rupert his middle name as a reward for doing something really brave / really stupid. And because Rupert doesn't like violence, he abhors it, and he abhors anything that would involve him being involved in violence. And so as a result, he's not only
Pacifist goblin vibes. Hashtag.
He extends his pacifism so far as to full inaction.
Yeah.
And Rupert did something very, very brave, and as a result, he was rewarded the middle name Sumo. And so that's how he became Rupert Sumo. But that was a fun little
Yeah.
But there were things on the first couple episodes, like the eggs
Yeah.
and the matrimonial garment
Yeah.
in his barrel that Danielle knew about, but
Yes.
Greta would not have
Yeah,
known
and I
about.
don't want them to be inside jokes. It's
No.
just like it's just part of his.
It didn't feel like
yeah,
that
it's
at
not.
all.
It's not a contrived journey. Like Rupert's been on a journey.
Yeah.
So
I mean, as we all have. We all
Yeah.
in our packs have items that, are from
Yeah.
our life before joining the party.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
that was a great question.
So if there are any GMs out there or GMs who maybe haven't yet made their own homebrew world,
Right.
how long did it take you to build Bentir?
Okay. Well, I was a little weird with mine. Most of them are not as big as Bentir, and that's not like I'm not trying to. That's not a flex. Like I just mean like
Yeah.
my brain spit it out, but there are like the way to do it. The way to do it is to. I fell into a system that worked really well accidentally with the very first episode, and it has not failed me. And at this point, I don't think it will fail me. But it's essentially the idea is an ever expanding circle, which is how far can the party move in an X amount of time.
Yeah.
And every time that you need to have something there, you expand the circle. And so if the party, travels from, if say they're in this little, fishing village and suddenly they are on a boat, how far can a boat go in a day? Your circle needs to be that big.
Yeah.
So you're
And-
only creating as far as you think we're going to get.
Right.
So you're not having to create an entire world before you ever step in and start playing.
Right, because
Yeah.
that actually I think would not work. I
Yeah.
think that if you tried to do that, you would end up. This is the reason why I made my homebrew world is that I really struggled when we first started with learning the established settings because I don't know if are you this way? Like canon is canon. Like I don't read Star Wars fan fiction because it either is canon or it's not.
Oh, yeah.
And not to diss anyone who likes fan fiction,
Yeah.
like ship what you want. But I can't can't wrap my head around it. And in the same way with D&D, I couldn't wrap my head around an established world that you were supposed to play in that had an enormous amount of backstory that was thousands of years of in-game time and 45 years of real-world time that was also iterated on by millions of people every year, to the point where if you and I were at separate tables and had a conversation, we would be incompatible in game. And we might even be playing the same epoch.
Yeah.
And I couldn't wrap my head around that. And so I kept looking for information about these places that I saw on maps. So I would be like, okay, well, they're going to go to this place. I'm looking at a map, and I was like, well, they can go this far. And I was like, well, what's this place? And I'd go up to like type it, and there'd be like one sentence, but it was on a map.
Yeah, even with places in, Forgotten Realms or the other worlds that are in all of the D&D books, I feel like there's so much that you still have to fill in.
Yeah. And I didn't understand that. So I was playing, and I was like, well, I'm not reading the right books. And then I realized that some of them are just names on a map that have never been officially filled in. So generations of players have filled them in. They've played at their tables, but it never made it into a piece. It's like this weird cycle.
Yeah.
And it hurt my brain. And so I decided, I was like, oh, I can't do this. I have to start over entirely. And it has to be totally entirely, because I wanted to fix a bunch of stuff.
The place in you that says, I can't do this, what do you think that comes from?
I don't know. As a little kid, I used to rehearse these stories. I would tell stories of characters talking, because I spent, as a kid, we moved around a bunch, and I would go to different places, and so I would often go on walks with my dog and walk down the street or in the woods or walking the dog, and I would tell a story from the perspective of everyone in the party, like everyone in the story talking to each other. And I would play out this little thing to myself, and I never thought it was weird. It was probably very weird to watch.
You were playing D&D with yourself.
I was playing D&D with myself.
What about text-based games?
And then I did a lot of those. It was mainly a thing of going
text-based games.
I played text-based games online. It was a thing of really. I've consumed a lot of fantasy, and this was a really good opportunity to take. I would have these kind of wrinkles in my brain with story, with how things would work out in one story or another, that would really bother me, that were not how I would have written something. No, that was not how I would have written it. But also, it was that doesn't make any sense to me. And I these plot holes would kind of sink in. And I found that with Bentir, I was able to fix that. So I was able to finally have a place that's conceivable to me that everything lined up in, and then I could follow the thread, and that other people would be able to sit down and go, oh, I get that.
Yeah.
They're not going to run into a Deus Ex Machina. Literally, there's no gods in Bentir. So they're not going to run into a Deus Ex Machina. There is an explanation for something, even if it's hard to find.
Yeah.
And
that's really cool.
so
I love it.
I like that question. That made me feel good.
Killing it with the questions tonight.
If you want to see more questions, you happen to be in the LA area, you should check out whenever V is going to be hosting a Comic-Con panel.
Yeah, which is going to be brought to you by Novel Chronicles. And we're going to have some amazing guests that are just...
I'm so excited. I'm genuinely very
I'm
excited.
so excited too. They are...
Out of this world.
Yeah, just huge pros in the tabletop world.
And that'll be December 4th, Saturday at 1:30 at the LA Convention Center. That's right.
Yeah, we're going to be.
That's our little plug.
Live in person. Live in person. See Dispel Dice and Wormwood Gaming, and as well as Cantrip Candles, local to Los Angeles.
Pretty exciting.
So is Dispel. Actually.
Yeah, Dispel's local
Two
as
locals,
well.
and someone from Wormwood's flying all the way out from Massachusetts. Which, okay, yeah.
I love
down
it.
for it. I love it.
I'm so excited.
Yeah.
So I want to say and this is a bit for Danielle. I've had conversations with other women, femme-identifying folks who have either tried to play D&D or a tabletop game before, and it didn't go well for reasons, or they've never played before just because they see it as, being sort of a male-dominated world. Yeah. And I've heard really unfortunate stories. I'm really lucky that, I listened to podcasts for years different role-playing podcasts and have been a fan of games for a while, but really didn't even get the chance to play until the pandemic. And
yeah, I was always curious how you got in.
I really didn't start until then. I had a lot more time on my hands so that I could, and I got a chance to play over Zoom and Roll20 and D&D Beyond and all of that. And this experience of playing with y'all in person has been my first in-person D&D experience. I got a chance to play Pathfinder a couple times with my Pathfinder group.
It's complicated.
Yeah. But this has been like my first real experience with the table and the thing. It's awesome. I love
Physical
it.
miniatures.
Real dice, physical miniatures.
Yeah.
But I feel so lucky that in this experience of playing with the groups that I've played with, I've been able to find really awesome folks. But what would you say to someone, to a girl or a femme-identifying person who wanted to play but maybe was a little turned off by the masculinity of it all, or at least by how we perceive that to be? What would you say to them?
Right. I think that, and this is, I think just go build it yourself, I guess.
Yeah.
Just start your own thing. I started dungeon mastering. I started dungeon mastering for an all-female identifying group of actresses. We had a show on this channel, Maven Brave, and we did 40 episodes, and it was my first time ever DMing, and it was sort of because I was like, I want to go out on a limb, and I want to try my own thing, and there was something so energetically wonderful about that show. Like,
I've seen it. It's so fun.
Yay!
Yeah.
It's just, there was so like whimsical, and I think nurturing is a word that I love to use, because with Brooklyn Quarter's short film Liza Anonymous, people would ask me questions about, what's it like for women in film right now, and having a lot of women on set, and the word that I keep coming back to is like nurturing and also whimsical. I don't know why this word keeps coming up, but it's almost like this magical thing happens when your femininity, in whatever capacity that means, just gets to come out. And I think so I guess the advice that I would have would just be to start your own thing. And I think that a lot of people get scared by dungeon mastering, but you don't have to do it a right way. You can also read out of a lot of amazing modules. Eventually, hopefully, we'll have published.
Yeah.
Hopefully, Ben Tier will be
There
published
are
for
people
you.
that have been playing our adventures, which is funny.
I love it.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
They took episodes from the show and then started playing at their own tables. They wrote in about it. That was really cool.
Yeah, and I think that too is that just know who you want to invite to the table, literally. Yeah. And so the fact that you and I get to be in Novel Chronicles and we play with 3 male identifying humans, how I feel very open and very seen and very heard, and it's because I have chosen to stay at this table I've been invited to, and so, obviously I married this person, so hi.
Aww.
So I knew that I wanted to sit at a table with him for my whole life. But I think that that's kind of the answer, is just know who you want to invite to the table, regardless of gender. Like, just that nurturing, fun, open, explorative personality in gaming, because it's real. It's tough out there, and it's been hard. And both Victoria and I have been in spaces in the comedy world and in the gaming world where it can get a little rowdy. I don't know. I guess the word I'm going with is rowdy.
Yeah.
A little rowdy. It can it can get a little toxic, and it can be really tough. And there are some things that the experiences I've had, or things that have said to me, that have been seared in my mind, but I use them now to come full circle to go like, oh, this is my table. I'm so sorry, like you're not invited. Or you are wholeheartedly invited. Or, oh, you've changed and you want to be invited? Oh, cool, come on over. So yeah, I guess just going for it. And how much is the starter pack? It's like $12.
$12. Yeah. The starter adventures are really good.
Yeah, so like you can have all this for $12, $11.99 maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, really,
Geeky teeth.
really, it's like $25. You should buy it from a friendly local game store
Yeah.
and not at the lowest price online. But it's very good. So
True.
Love it.
Love.
I'm just,
Yeah.
because I'm thinking
you
back
have-
to what
do
you
you have
said.
any thoughts?
Yeah, I'm thinking
Yeah.
back to what you said about being in comedy as well. And the thing that was always hard for me was when I was doing stand-up back in, this was like 2010, 2011, it was difficult to be in other spaces with women where you've constantly felt like the other woman was your competition because there's only ever going to be one woman on the show, on the stand-up show or whatever it was. And then that built in me like a lot of thoughts of thinking that other women were my competition and I could be friends with them.
Just
And I had to come back from
culturally.
that.
Yeah, culturally, it's like it was an unspoken thing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it totally was. But I love what I love about this game is how collaborative it is, and how even though the GM has this world and has made plans and has some idea of the story that they want to
Apparently.
tell.
apparently sometimes.
Yeah,
Only
well,
apparent plans.
but the
And then
plans.
sometimes you jump on the roof and you just go with it.
Yeah. Sometimes you cast Longstrider and go up 4 stories in one go. I mean, whatever.
It's everyone around the table telling one story together, and I love that.
Yes, and as we say in the theater world, devised. It's a devised piece of storytelling, which I love that word, but it's not commonly used, so we don't use it as much. But I think that that's so important, and I think it's important to acknowledge the change and how we are making long strides. No pun intended. A pun was intended.
I caught on.
Okay.
That is all the questions that I got.
Let me see if there's anyone
Yeah.
up here. Okay, we had some people tune in. We have someone in chat say, well, that's adorable.
What were they referring to?
Is there a question that you have about us being so adorable?
I'm going to assume it's me.
Yes.
I think
I'm assuming it's her as well.
one thing that's been really important for me. Can I borrow this?
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot.
One thing that's been really important for me is, so I used to subscribe to the subreddits for D&D and D&D Next, which is the code name for 5th edition. Before they made it 5th edition, it was called D&D
D&D
Next.
Next? I didn't know that.
The user test group from like 6 years ago, because the 5th edition's almost like 7 years older, I think, at this point. Is I used to be subscribed to that on Reddit, but I had to unfollow the subreddits because it's just people posting horror stories, asking for advice. And they're getting good advice. They're like, it's really good advice on there, but it's also really sad. And I think for the people who play that have a terrible experience is that you should have high standards. Because like D&D, any game you play, there's a certain vulnerability because you're competing, but in D&D you're not competing, you're collaborating. And so there's a much higher level of vulnerability, and there's a much higher time commitment, and there's a much higher, I would say, perceived intimacy with the people that you play with, just because you spend more time in a physical space sometimes than you would if you were, say, playing Halo.
Yeah.
And so as a result, like for the people who feel like, oh, I really hate this is happening in my gaming group. I feel really disconnected and I felt disrespected, and they're not the kind of people I want to be around. Like, just don't do it. Have high standards. Be like, I won't be at that kind of table. I won't be with that kind of group. Like if a group, I mean, this is if your beloved character gets killed because one of your party members is mean in the last session, guess what? Your character's not dead, because who gives a crap about that group? Burn the bridge and walk away.
Yeah.
Go to a new table, resurrect your character.
Go to a new table. pull a Bob Newhart. It was all a dream. Because it's like not fair.
Yeah.
It's not fair.
No, it's not.
No one's allowed to wreck your life.
Here's
with
something
that.
else that I want to add to that, though. Sometimes you also don't have to walk away. Sometimes what you can do is go to your DM and say, hey, this thing is happening. This bothered me. Is there a way that we could address this within the group?
That's the much more reasonable advice.
No,
but
no,
it's true. But it's true.
Sometimes it might go to that.
I'm like,
Sometimes
burn
you-
the bridge.
Yeah, sometimes you might have to just walk away if
Yeah.
if your needs aren't being met.
Yeah.
But I also think that sometimes we forget that we can
Yeah.
ask for boundaries that we need to be set.
Yeah.
That's totally, it's okay to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's really good to set those at the beginning too.
Yeah.
Like that was something we made great pains about in our session -4, right? Because we did not start at session 0. Was just making sure that like everything was just communicated, that everyone felt like they could just talk.
Yeah.
Like if you felt bottled up, we weren't doing something right.
Yeah.
So
With the characters dying, by the way, I think there's a group on Facebook that I'm a part of that's DM women, trans femme, and non-binary like group, and someone told the story in that of how I think they had a TPK happen, and they were surprised that what happened instead. I think it was, if I remember properly, in the moment the DM made a turn to say, "And your eyes close, and you open your eyes, and you're in one of the levels of 9 hells." Like. So they were able to continue their game, which I know, like, with Ben Tier, there's no heaven or hell or anything like that. I don't know what Afterlife is like in Ben Tier.
Real quick,
But-
just for people watching who don't know what a TPK is.
Oh, yes.
It's
Total party kill.
total party
So
kill.
something catastrophic happened that their entire party died in one go,
Yeah. What is Afterlife?
which is campaign ending, or it could
right,
be.
yeah.
But I thought that was such a fun solution.
really fun
in a world
solution.
that has an afterlife there.
Yeah.
I remember I saw a meme about somebody. It was like somebody cast teleport and they rolled a natural 1, and the GM's like, roll another d20 because they're like looking up results, and they rolled another natural 1,
Oh no.
and they said that the DM was like, roll 1 more, and it was that infinitesimal chance, and it was like, I rolled a natural 1. It was like they just kept rolling 1s and trying to teleport, and the GM just like moved a book off the table and picked up a different binder and set it on the table, and it was like, you find yourselves in the Shadowfell, and they were like, no. The GM's like, there goes
Yeah.
that story. Yeah, I love whenever the players do something that completely derails everything.
Or the dice.
Yeah,
It's not
or
always
the dice.
players.
Yeah, it's true.
Love it.
Yeah, there has been a brief glimpse of the afterlife in when
This is exclusive. We know nothing about this in this campaign.
there was an individual named Koitito Hoptra who
Say that again.
Koitito Hoptra.
Koitito Hoptra.
Koitito Hoptra,
I love it.
a Rolk of the Way of the Steady Climb, the monastic order,
Yeah.
who decided against better judgment to touch a black viscous fluid
Oh.
that was known to be a corrupting presence. However, because Koitito was a monk, there was already a certain protection against his soul. And instead of just dying outright, Koitito found himself in an in-between place on a plain of dark desolation with no sky, next to a small hut wherein lived an old woman named Lover. And this,
What he's saying is don't go to the afterlife and Ben Tier.
and as a result of
I don't want to meet Lava.
Lover was deeply unpleasant.
Oh my god.
As a result of Koitito's sort of internal resilience, that luminous soul of monks, and the actions of the party, they were able to pull them back. But for anyone else, it was a one-way trip. And so
Wow.
Koitito actually had the experience of going somewhere that was a different place, and returned back with It was some kind of revivify it just happened to be timed.
Yeah.
But there has been a little touch of the afterlife, and it wasn't fun. Came back it came back physically changed, which is another thing as well. So
yeah.
as a result of Koitito being there, Koitito actually their like complexion and fur changed. It was a whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Shout out to Alex Steeney.
That's right. Shout out to Alex Steeney of Koitito Hoftra.
Koitito Hoftra, played by Alex
I
Steeney.
love that name.
Yeah.
So good.
Koitito.
Koitito.
I have a list of names that if I ever have to roll for a new character that I want to latch on to. My first one it was a fish that I saw at the Tacoma Zoo and Aquarium when I was over there with my one of my other D&D parties, wedding party, and there's a fish called Domino Damsel.
Oh gosh.
Oh, we love that.
So if something happens to
That's such a
Ashvin,
gunslinger name.
I might have Domino Damsel come in.
That's great.
Nothing is going to happen to Oshvin.
Nothing's gonna happen.
All
We also
right.
have to
It's gonna be
have
fine.
Boschvin.
Boschvin.
This is Boschvin, cousins with Koshvin.
My
That's
goodness.
like, hi, I'm Betta. I'm better than Greta.
Aunt-
Oh.
Ooh.
Wow. No one's better than Greta.
No
we hope.
one. No one.
Are there no questions?
No questions.
No
I
questions.
think we've
watches.
answered all
Yeah.
the questions.
I think we've had some good.
It's been really great. You did a great job.
Yeah.
Look at you.
Oh, look at
you.
me.
Amazing.
Look at me.
And check out Victoria Ronnie moderating the panel at Comic-Con Los Angeles,
Yes.
happening this Saturday at 1:30 in the afternoon.
That's right. LA
Saturday.
Convention Center, LA Comic-Con.
LA Convention Center, Saturday, December 4th. We would love to see you. The panel is called Leveling Up, Creating a Tabletop Empire. It's going to be so much fun. Y'all are going to be amazing. Wormwood Gaming, Cantrip Candles, Dispel Dice, and Novel Chronicles hosting.
I love. Also, I just realized the three people that are invited, the three companies, all make a physical good.
yeah.
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 Oh, I just realized that it's not a digital good. It's not a paperback good. It's a
Yeah.
physical item. Dice, accessories, and tables and candles.
Yeah, who makes real things anymore? It's
I'm a little
wild.
jealous.
It's brick and mortar.
Yeah,
I'm
So-
I'm really excited.
I'm really excited
to
about
get to ask some questions and, find out about everyone's mistakes and
yeah.
wins, and I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yay.
So
All right.
check that out.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone. Are we done?
I think
I
we're
think we're done.
I think we're done.
I think we're done.
Thanks for watching, friends.
yeah, and I was just about to do the tag out. And have a wonderful week.
New episode drops next week.
That's right. Episode 5. 2 left in this season. Yay. Good night, everybody. What's great is that it's going to go to here.